Thanks for listening to Delaware. Here's Peter MacArthur.
It is 9:20 now here on AM 1150, 101.7 FM, and WDEL.com. Delaware for this Friday, October 23rd. A question to ponder. Can Delaware's beach economy take another hit after COVID? It was a horrific summer for most entities involved with the Delaware beaches. We turn now to David Stevenson from the Cesar Rodney Institute. He wrote about this recently. David, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great.
Good. First of all, why don't you tell us about the lens under which you wrote your article, David, on whether or not the beach economy in Delaware could sustain something else catastrophic?
Exactly. Let me give you listeners a little background here first. The Maryland legislature and the Utility Commission approved 2 offshore wind projects in federal waters. One of those was going to be built off of Ocean City, with the other off the coast of Delaware. That lease area extends from Rehoboth Beach all the way to Fenwick Island. Now, the 20-year contracts will cost Maryland electric customers $3 billion in subsidies. And it's been assured that any benefits that come from the project, construction and so forth, will go to Maryland customers. So it's, Delaware's getting no benefit out of this thing. So the fact is the projects can't be built without a place to bring the power ashore. Think about, you're trying to plug something in, where's the plug going to be? So that was supposed to be in Ocean City, Maryland. However, there are 2 prominent university studies that showed tourists what these turbines might look like. And between the 2 of them, it's basically between 15 and 35% of tourists won't come back to a beach where there's visible turbines. And just to put this in perspective, these turbines are huge. They're as big as the Chrysler Building in New York City. We're not talking about little tiny windmills here. The lease area off the Delaware coast comes as close to 12 miles. And there could be as many as 200 turbines making a continuous wall from Rehoboth to Fenwick Island. And especially at night, because these have the flashing aircraft and ship navigation warning lights on them. So they're going to be very, very visible. So why doesn't Ocean City want to bring the power ashore in Ocean City? And there's existing substations there. It's all set up for it. It was supposed to be done there. But they have asked the lease areas to be moved out 33 miles, which is exactly what happened off the Outer Banks in North Carolina. That lease area was moved out 33 miles because of the potential visibility. That's all they're asking. The Dutch developer, trying to get around that objection, started talking to the Delaware State Parks Division about bringing the power ashore in Delaware. Remember, no benefit to Delaware, but potential lost tourists, just like Ocean City. By the way, it's just a 1% loss of tourism over the 20-year contract in Delaware and Maryland adds up to $1 billion in current dollars.
Over those years,
we're talking a lot of money. So to picture what the potential impact on in Delaware, it occurred to me that you can compare what's happened with the lockdown to what could happen because of these visible turbines. So the Rehoboth Dewey Chamber of Commerce estimated in July that resort area revenue had dropped 35 to 50% for hotels and up to 75% for restaurants.
Let's before we go further, I just want to insert a couple things here. You did some math there. I, as you were speaking, did some quick math as well, because we're talking about, say, that 15%, the lower end of what you said, were tourists that wouldn't come back with this visible turbine horizon, if you will, that would be about $450 million potentially over the course of a year. So, I mean, that in and of itself is also just a massive amount to kind of swallow. David, what about, I guess UD also took a look at this?
UD is one of the studies. The other one was the
place in North Carolina?
North Carolina.
Yeah, okay.
Now, the UD study used much smaller turbines. So I've had to adjust their data because these new turbines are 50% taller, and it has the effect of moving it 5 miles closer to shore.
Yeah. It's been a very controversial topic, obviously, and when you look at it from this developer standpoint, of course, They want to get these things as close as they possibly can because it means it optimizes their profits because, the lines they run to get these things to power from shore, clearly the longer you go, the more cost that is to them. And so, visibility is probably not a high priority for them in this mix. What I do wonder is whether or not some of those numbers in the study hold up over time. In other words, don't we as humans kind of get used to stuff, David? As in, the pull of the ocean is strong for us here, right? We love to go down there. And I wonder if people wouldn't get used to seeing those turbines, just playing devil's advocate over the course of time.
Well, that is possible.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, how much have you lost?
Yeah.
And let me turn that on its head and say,
sure.
These projects are being built all up and down the East Coast. What if the only place that didn't have them was the Delaware beach?
Interesting.
How many people would come here instead of going to those other beaches? I mean, people go to the beach for the views. When we first started talking about this last year, we were talking to people and they were suggesting, well, maybe they supported it. I mean, what's wrong with these turbines? And then within 2 minutes of saying, think about the beach view and how important that is to the reason people come here. Do people really want to come here and see a solid wall of wind turbines from Rehoboth to Fenwick Island? And when you start picturing that in your mind, I mean, when I go to the beach, I live in Lois, when I go to the beach, I like that view out to the horizon with maybe an occasional ship on it. I don't want to see, these are industrial, these are not little fancy, Dutch windmills. These are industrial machines that are out there that cost an amazing amount of money. You mentioned about the added cost being further out. Let me put that in perspective for you. To build 12 of these out of the 200 that could fit in this lease area, they're going to spend almost $1 billion to get those 12 turbines up there. So $1 billion. The cost of going an extra mile with the transmission line is $1 million.
Okay.
So you're looking at adding $20 million to $1 billion project. It's not even a rounding error.
Got it.
Same problem with the bigger problem is water depth. Well, it turns out the Dutch developer Ørsted is building a project off of Martha's Vineyard in the same depth of water that they would be building this project if they went out 33 miles off the coast of Delaware. And they're charging 30% less for that project than they are for the project off Delaware.
Wow.
So the arguments of taking it further out don't really hold up. And in fact, the National Renewable Energy Laboratory here in the U.S. has posted what's going on in Europe. And projects in Europe are being built between 50 and 100 miles off the coast. So there's really no excuse not to move these things further out. And why is Delaware trying to solve Maryland's problem? Let Maryland worry about it.
And that's the glowing thing in all this that I don't understand either, is how this became kind of our beast to burden, right? Dave Stevenson here joining us from the Caesarati Institute. We're talking about the prospect, if you will, of wind turbines off the coast of Delaware. And I have to jump for news here in just a moment, David, but something you said really does interest me, and I'd be interested to see how this pans out. If we do not see these projects take shape here, how Delaware beaches could benefit financially by having that vista you speak of, which is void of the massive turbines out there. I wonder if we'll able to put a dollar amount on that down the road.
I would hesitate to venture a guess.
Yeah. Well, it would be a good problem to have, I think. Where can people find out more and get their eyes on what you wrote about this, David?
Yeah, we have regular newsletters, and you can sign up for those at CaesarRodney.org.
All right. Well, you got us all thinking here on a Friday, David. Thanks so much for the time. I appreciate it.
And thank you for having me on.
Hey, you betcha. 9:28 now here on WDEL. As I mentioned, we'll be going to news at the